Hello everybody, Ellie here for WhoCulture once again. Now, the thing I want to talk to you about today is the latest edition of Doctor Who magazine and Russell's monthly letter, which is in every edition. Within those, we got some very juicy details about the progress of season 2, and also a secret project was teased. So let's just break those down, shall we, and talk about what these things mean and where the show is at with regards to season 2. So let's get into it. So as I just mentioned, Russell gave us a little teaser, a little bit of information about each episode of season 2. So episode 1 of season 2, this is what he said. This is, I'd say, 80% ready. I've just changed the title, and it's the most wonderful showcase of Varada Sethu as Belinda Chandra arrives in the Doctor's world with a massive slam. Plus some of the most beautiful effects I've ever seen. First observation, we're going to be meeting Varada Sethu's new character, Belinda Chandra, in the first episode. Now, I don't know if I was expecting that or if I thought perhaps it might take a few episodes. Obviously, at this point, we do know Millie Gibson is going to be in season 2. We're not entirely sure to what extent she's going to be in it, but I think I'm glad that we're going to be meeting the new companion right at the beginning of the season. I'm very intrigued as to who she's going to be, how we're going to meet her, and what kind of character she's going to be. And I'm very intrigued to find out how she is going to be linked to the character that Varada Sethu played in Boom, if she's going to be linked to that character at all. But yeah, I'm very glad that we're going to be meeting Belinda right at the beginning. And then so we've got the most beautiful effects I've ever seen. Russell does like to big up the effects and everything about the show, doesn't he? But the fact that he's filled with confidence fills me with confidence. I like that they try to go bigger and bolder to a degree. I've not made it a secret about how I feel about going back to the old ways and how that wouldn't bother me at all. But I'm also intrigued when someone says it's the most beautiful effects ever. My biggest hope, I think, for this episode is just maybe a step up from Space Babies. The first episode of a season has got to be gripping, otherwise you're going to lose viewers. If the first episode doesn't intrigue and grip you, then why would you stick around unless you're a diehard fan? And even those might dwindle if we're getting a repeat. Space Babies had its moments, but for the most part was, in my opinion, a weird choice for a series opener. So I'm hoping that we just get something a little bit more gripping, a little bit more drama perhaps in this first episode. This episode is also directed by the same director of A Good Man Goes to War, Peter Hoare, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. He also directed It's a Sin, and he was nominated for an Emmy for The Last of Us. So high hopes for this episode. That's definitely some good credits to have there, so that's exciting. I do love A Good Man Goes to War, so very excited to see what he brings to this episode. Okay, so let's move on to episode 2. This is the tease. I'd say 70% ready, though the FX vendors might say we have mountains to climb. And they're producing FX that the show has never tried before. Enormous fun and weird chills with a lovely guest star as poor old Reginald Pye. Again, with this kind of pushing forward with the FX. I'm in two minds. As I just said, I quite like the old ways, and as much as I like the new stuff, I hope that the story still holds up. I get concerned when so much attention is put into the effects that I hope that the story itself and the characters and all of that is also paid just as close attention to. It does obviously raise the question of what could they possibly be doing if it's something they've never tried before. Now, I'm not going to pretend to have deep knowledge of all the latest modes of making FX and all those different things, so I don't know, but I mean, obviously perhaps new technology will be used, like the LED screens that we used for Boom, or even the animated mouths of the babies and Space Babies, although in my mind that wasn't necessary. It distracted me more than anything else. So as I said, I'm slightly concerned that there's a lot of attention on the FX, and I just hope that it doesn't take away from the things that I find the most important to an episode. But either way, it definitely sounds intriguing, especially with him saying that it's something that has never been done before. So in Doctor Who, obviously it has been done before in the world of cinema and film and TV, but cinema and film is the same thing, Ellie. I like the idea that we're going to get something a little bit darker and spooky. Weird chills. I like it when Doctor Who is dark. I think it's at its best when it goes a little darker and not so silly. Comparisons, Boom, Space Babies, Boom by far was the better episode. Okay, episode 3, a much shorter tease this time. All he said was, bruh, I'm just saying, bruh, scary. Another scary episode? Is that 2 kind of chilling, scary episodes in a row? I'm kind of here for it. I'm here for it. Can't really draw much from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words of a tease, 2 of which are the same word. But I am excited to maybe, as I said, go down this darker route with the episodes. The only other thing I can maybe draw from this is the brewer part. Is there a cold setting? Is it going to be set somewhere cold? Or does that refer to the chills you're going to get because it's a scary episode? Who knows? But I like that we still have some episodes where we have absolutely no idea still. Episode 4, he said, this was the first to be shot along with episode 1, so I'd say it's 95% ready. A brand new slant on a Doctor Who story. I'm very excited for this to be seen. A new slant on a Doctor Who story. Now there's 2 ways to look at this. Either it's a completely new direction to explore Doctor Who as a whole, or is this suggesting that they're taking a Doctor Who story and adjusting it? So is it like a sequel to a previous episode or a spin on a previous episode as opposed to a new approach to Doctor Who as a whole? I'm trying to think, I mean, there's 60 years worth of stories that this could be the case for, but is it a new twist on a Dalek story? I really don't know. But as I said the last time we kind of started doing this speculation, I kind of like not knowing. There's something about going into these episodes in the dark which I find better than going in knowing what's coming. I like the intrigue, I like the mystery. So these little teasers here are actually doing a very good job of telling us absolutely nothing whilst also telling us something. So episode 5, about 70% ready. I had the great delight the other day of sitting on Zoom, screen sharing a sequence from this, and then saying to the writer, can you believe you wrote that? And oh boy, they were grinning, grinning, grinning. Something about this says to me, and to Danny as well, it sounds like a Doctor Who fan talking to a Doctor Who fan. Have we got a guest writer who is also a Doctor Who fan? I sometimes think fans make the best writers because they know exactly what makes us as fans tick. So that's very exciting. It also tells us we have another writer for season 2 as well. Episode 5 is not written by Russell T Davies. Then we have episode 6. He said, we've already had a massive shoot and tons of edits and effects, and yet I suspect this is about 8% ready. What an epic. But wait till you see Sabine and Cora and Kid and spoilers. Only 8% ready? I don't know why, but it feels like they've been filming season 2 for so long that in my mind it's ready. But then to hear that an episode is only 8% ready, I don't know. Especially when others are like 95% ready. It just highlights how much work is being put into these episodes if something is still very, very early in its editing process. What an epic, that's how he describes it. Epic could mean so many things. You know, sometimes you can think of a historical epic. Is it a historical setting for the episode? So the 6th episode of season 1 was Rogue, so that was also a historical setting. Although the names could be futuristic, Sabine and Cora. To me, the names Sabine and Cora, I don't know why, I think of witches. It makes me think of witches. So that could be a historical setting. Ooh, maybe it's Salem. I don't know why I've jumped to that conclusion. There's absolutely nothing in that description that tells me that this is anything to do with Salem or witches, but my prediction is that Sabine and Cora and Kid have something to do with witchcraft. You heard it here first, folks. Obviously, you see the word spoilers, you do have to think, River Song, but realistically, I don't think River is involved in this episode. The thing is, the word spoilers is synonymous with River Song at this point, but it also is its own thing that's used across entire fandoms. I'd love to think that River is returning in this episode because of the use of the word spoilers, but sadly, I don't think it's happening. Let's move on to episode 7 before I just start crying again. He said, first of a 2-part finale, still at an early stage. It's only just had the edit signed off and locked. Lots of work to come with a brilliant guest star and revelations galore, but this is an epic. Another epic! More epics! I like that we're having another two-part season finale. I think the two-parters work better. Historically, the single episode finales haven't been as strong. Two parts just build up that mystery. They give you a cliffhanger, they give you a week to think about what could possibly happen. There's more drama. It works better when it's split into two parts. Revelations galore. Surely this has got to relate to Mrs. Flood. We know that there's still this big mystery surrounding Mrs. Flood. We've been told that season 2 will give us more answers, and it makes sense that they would come in the finale. So hopefully we will be getting some answers about who Mrs. Flood is. And then episode 8, this is an epic continued. The edit is still wide open, we're still finessing key sequences, but it's all been planned. We have time to spare. So again, two-part season finale. Hopefully things will get wrapped up maybe a little bit more satisfyingly, whatever that word is that I'm looking for, than the finale of season 1. There was some disappointment surrounding how that was approached. Let's hope that the answers that presumably are surrounding Mrs. Flood are answered a little bit better than the mystery of Ruby's mother was. But again, very exciting. Sounds to me, again, like they're still in that early stage. There's a lot of work to be doing there, but they seem confident that they will have it all done in time and that things are looking good. Overall, it does seem like this season perhaps is slightly darker than season 1, which to me is a good thing. As I said, dark Doctor Who is some of the best Doctor Who, so that's good. Obviously, you need to have those little moments of lightness in there as well, which I believe there will be. But overall, very exciting. It is also just strange to think that, they started filming this season almost a year ago, and it seems like it's only about 50% complete, so it does go to show how much work and effort and time goes into putting this together. The only question I have maybe is surrounding Varada Sethu. Do we think that she's going to be just a single season companion, or do we think she'll stick around for future? I'm inclined to think that she might stick around for longer, seeing as Ruby potentially is not going to be around after season 2 and perhaps won't be involved in season 2 that much. I don't want it to become a common thing for a companion to only stick around for one season. I like it when there's a little bit of time for them to evolve and for that relationship to develop. So I'm hoping she'll stick around for more, but obviously that all depends on if and when we get a season 3. Now, the other thing that was teased in Russell's letter was a secret project. All he said was, secret project, oh, you'll see. And there are a few things that this secret project might be. So I am going to go back to my trusty scale of rating of Malcolms. I'm going to go through our list of what those potential projects could be and give them a rating of how likely I think they are of being the secret project. I hope that made sense. So 10 Malcolms being the most possible and likely scenario, 1 Malcolm being it would be fun, but let's not get our hopes up. Cool? Okay. Option 1. Something for children in need, which is coming in November, so it's very close, not too long to wait for that. Obviously, Doctor Who has a long history with children in need. Russell T Davies even did it in his first year on the show with the 10th Doctor and Rose in a scene called Born Again. And last year, we had the 14th Doctor in a scene in Destination Skaro with Davros and the Daleks. And that was huge. So Doctor Who and Children in Need has a long-standing connection, and it's well established into the new era as well as the old era as well. And when I say old era, I mean Russell T Davies's first era. So I definitely think there is something lined up. In fact, I know there is something lined up because I have my sources. Spoilers. I don't know anything other than the fact that there will be one, so don't come for me, I don't know anything. Also, last year, Russell T Davies did kind of a similar thing in Doctor Who magazine, where he mentioned that we would be seeing Doctor Who Unleashed sooner than you think. Or something to that effect. And lo and behold, we get Destination Skaro for Children in Need, and then we get a supplemental episode of Doctor Who Unleashed. So that secret project being Children in Need, I would say 9 out of 10 Malcolms, highly likely that Children in Need is the secret project that he's talking about here. Option number 2, a future spin-off. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that anything is perhaps written at this stage, but I can certainly imagine that ideas are being thrown around, and discussions perhaps happening behind the scenes about future shows and the potential to tell more stories going forward. But If I'm being honest, I would say on my scale of Malcolms, I give it a 3 out of 10 Malcolms. I don't think that is the secret project. Option number 3 is another Tales of the TARDIS episode. I could see them doing this as like a yearly thing, adding a new episode each year, perhaps linking to a returning element that is in the show, like we got for Pyramids of Mars. Although I do wonder, you don't want to overdo it, and you don't want to keep going back to kind of old stories in the main show just so you can have a Tales of the TARDIS episode to go with it. But it would be a shame to not use that amazing memory TARDIS set again. It would be nice to see potentially Susan. We obviously spoke a lot about Susan and the fact that we didn't have her return. She didn't have a Tales of the TARDIS episode previously, so that could be nice. I would like to see that. On my scales of Malcolms, I'd say I give it a 5 Malcolms out of 10. I'm not entirely sure. It's possible, maybe because of the so much attention there was to this fact that Susan didn't return, and obviously Carol Ann Ford being around to do it. Perhaps they thought maybe we should do this, it's the time to do it, but at the same time, I'm not sure. Option number 4, the next classic colorization re-edit. You know, like the colorized and trimmed down omnibus edition that we had of the Daleks in 2023. So last year, Russell literally said, and I quote, "We're starting work on next year's already." So we definitely know there's one coming. It's just a case of, is that what he's teasing here? It's more likely perhaps that he's teasing something we don't already know about in this, but you never know. He may have forgotten that he's already told us that that's coming. I would suggest that I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10 Malcolms. I think this is quite likely. I feel like Russell is teasing this and perhaps forgotten that he's already told us that there's one coming, or maybe it's just continuing with the teasing. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think the secret project might be. And any thoughts you have on these teasers that we've had for the upcoming season 2 episodes as well. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Put them down in the comments below. In the meantime, I've been Ellie for WhoCulture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.